And despite the insistence of these immigrant advocacy groups, it's not scaremongering. People who are killed, these are real people, and its consequences are borne not by these advocates, but by the families to whom this has happened. Here is the principle of the matter. The law.
This guy's video is complete and utter nonsense. It made me upset, and I'm going to explain why. The last time I saw this guy was his "I'm voting for Trump" video. YouTube then decided to recommend him to me again. Is it because he's Asian and I'm Asian and YouTube figured out I'm Asian? Or is it because the strings of destiny are pulling me to him? But here's the thing. When I was watching his video, I felt my inner Asian tingle, alright? And the only thought that could come to my mind is, who let Asian bro cook? I have to get my opinions out there. I have to put in my 2 cents, alright? Now here's the thing. It's possible for me to just dismiss his video as drivel and hogwash because I already know he's a Trump supporter. I can just say, oh, Trump supporter, this guy's, who cares about his opinion? Whatever, man. But I want to judge this video solely on its own merits and his claims and his opinions. But it's also because I'm lazy. I'm not gonna watch his other videos for now. Let's begin.
Have you thought about the fact that after decades of the same conversation, you have not convinced a majority of the people to change the law in your favor? So maybe the law isn't wrong. Maybe there's something to this law you're not seeing. Maybe you're in the wrong. And at least in this instance, your blanket approval or endorsement of lawbreaking under the premise that the law is wrong reflects a selfishness on your part. Because if everyone had your attitude for whatever cause they held dear, we wouldn't have a society. Or at least one anyone would want to live in.
In this entire segment, he doesn't specify what law he is even talking about. How does he even define illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants? Which people are the people that he wants targeted exactly? There are many laws that pertains to undocumented and so-called illegal immigrants. I would actually argue by leaving out the nuance, he is actually being bad faith here. Because depending on which opinion pertains specifically to so-called illegal immigrants, the public is completely divided on this topic. In fact, here's an example. Pew Research says that 35% of all US adults say undocumented immigrants should not be allowed to stay in the US legally, while 64% say they should under certain conditions. Is this the majority that you say does not exist? Is that what you're saying? According to Pew as well, 79% of US adults think that undocumented immigrants should pass a background check. However, just to display just how wild the difference in opinion is, here you can see that even though 79% say that passing a security background check is required, only 25% say that paying a fine is required as an undocumented immigrant in order to stay in the US. Meanwhile, 37% say be considered but not required, and 35% say not to be considered. So, based on just how divided the American public is, we're talking about one third approximately for paying a fine. So, it really depends on which laws or which requirements and which regulations you're talking about, and which laws, which requirements, and which regulations are going to be broken, and therefore ICE is going to go after them.
These people are living life with constant weight on their shoulders. They're unable to seek justice or recourse when someone has wronged them because they're afraid of knocking on the door of the system. And when you see people who you know to be a good person suffer like that, can't help but feel something. That is what I think leads a lot of us to think, man, the law is in the wrong. And even if you know on principle that, as with everything in life, you make the bed you lie in, that illegal immigrants, at least as to the adults who made the conscious choice to break the law, you assume the risk that this shadow would cast in perpetuity on the stability of your life so long as you stay. Even if you know that on principle, I nevertheless can't help but think that I very well could have made the same choices were I to be in their circumstances. And when I say that, I mean they weren't left with a choice between immigrating legally versus illegally. Their choices were to immigrate illegally or not at all. Often, when someone who has been here for a long time is arrested by ICE, we hear, well, you've been here 20 years, why couldn't you have applied for a green card? Well, having a degree of familiarity with immigration law, I can tell you, there are certain avenues through which one can attain a green card, and if those avenues are foreclosed to you, for instance, because you don't have an immediate family member who can sponsor your petition, or you wouldn't be eligible for an H-1B, there's no legal means through which you can immigrate. And I was never in this circumstance, but if you feel like you have nothing else to lose because the country in which you were born is either dangerous or present no opportunities for upward mobility, I could see why they would make that choice to break the law.
Okay, sorry. I'm eating crackers right now. Okay, so spent this entire time understanding and steel manning, but still chooses ICE. Okay, let's talk about that. Also, can I just say, Cap, the way he talks about this issue makes me think he's never had an undocumented immigrant as a friend before. Because, let's be honest, if he did, he would be against ICE. Or maybe he does have a friend who is an undocumented immigrant. If that is the case and he still wants ICE to deport them or something, I'm gonna have to give it to you, man. You kind of straight up diabolical. I don't know what to tell you. You're kind of straight up diabolical. Yeah. Here's the thing. Ignorance, I can understand. But him understanding the feelings behind the issue to some degree, and then still advocating for ICE raids based off of poorly communicated information is straight up diabolical. My issue with this guy is never that he supports ICE, but rather he frames the issue in the very poor way that misdirects his audience towards a vague sense of the law, rather than the real nuances of the issue. Because the thing is that if he actually presented the issue in the more nuanced way, and no, how he presented it is not nuanced, okay? FYI, alright? Bringing up facts, bringing up stats, bringing up facts and figures and whatnot, that is better framing, because you are painting a more accurate picture and then making an assessment off of that. But here we have him gesturing towards empathy, gesturing towards some vague sense of justice and the law, and then he doesn't exactly specify which laws or what the hell the law is supposed to be, and then he's talking about, oh yeah, this is why I'm justified in thinking what I think. It's like, man, you know what, bro? He's making us Asians look bad! He's making us Asians look bad! Okay, alright, YouTube, please. Alright, I'm allowed to do this, okay.
They say illegal immigrants pay taxes. And here's the thing. If you are a undocumented immigrant, that is to say, you do not have legal status, but you are in some way accounted for by the government, sure, you pay taxes. So that be, for instance, DACA recipients, out-of-status TPS beneficiaries, or you faced a removal proceeding and your removal was withheld by the judge, also known as withholding of removal, or you circumvent U.S. labor laws barring unauthorized work by creating an LLC, working under the designation of an independent contractor by getting an ITIN number issued. In all these instances, the illegal immigrant pays taxes. But these limited category of people do so because, like the rest of us, they have to. They're accounted for by the government. They're in the system. The government will come after them if they do not. But this represents but a small fraction of the illegal immigrant population. Okay? The overwhelming vast majority, the rest, do not pay taxes. None I've ever known throughout the course of my life did. Vast majority don't have a social, nor an ITIN number. Many don't have a bank account. They earn cash and spend cash, and none of it goes to our collective pot. I can understand from their perspective why they would hesitate to reveal themselves to the system, but it's also not right as a matter of generalization to say that illegal immigrants pay taxes.
Stop. He needs to stop lying, okay? Number one, I'm gonna need a source on that, okay? Illegal immigrants don't pay taxes? I'm gonna need a source. Number two, alright? Sales tax? Have you ever seen any undocumented immigrant? Okay, you know the tax that everybody pays? That everybody has to pay? Technically, I mean, you can say like, oh, except for sales tax. Well, I mean, like, you could have said that then. Except for sales tax. But no, sales tax is a tax that illegal immigrants pay. I need to calm down. Okay, I need to calm down. So according to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, undocumented immigrants paid $96.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022. Most of that amount, $59.4 billion, was paid to the federal government, while the remaining $37.3 billion was paid to state and local governments. Additionally, 6 states raised more than $1 billion each in tax revenue from undocumented immigrants living within their borders. Those states are California, $8.5 billion, Texas, $4.9 billion, New York, $3.1 billion, Florida, $1.8 billion, Illinois, $1.5 billion, and New Jersey, $1.3 billion. In the large majority of states, 40 of them, undocumented immigrants pay higher state and local tax rates than the top 1% of households living within their borders. You cannot say that illegal immigrants do not pay taxes. You can't say that. Sources in the description below.
Yes, Americans of the 21st century include people from all over the world. And that is one of the things that makes America special, in my eyes. But for any progeny of those who immigrate, again, from all corners of the world, you take on a distinct American identity, blended yet separate from the identity you hold from your ancestral roots. In fact, I like it very much that it's a melting pot. That's not the issue. The issue is whether the people coming in will have loyalty to the country and attachment to its way of life. And the more people pour in by the millions without any checks, the less you'll see of that. If that happens, the future populace will not seek to retain and defend a distinct American identity and spirit, or preserve for their progeny this country's unique traditions.
All right, I'm gonna need a source on that, little bro. No source? All right, man. I ain't tripping, but okay. So this guy later kind of talks about like, oh my gosh, yes, it sounds like the Great Replacement Theory. Dude, bitch, I don't care if it sounds like the Great Replacement Theory. If it has an underlying good idea underneath, you know, I kind of understand that part. But, you know, the way you go about talking it is kind of crazy, not gonna lie. You already acknowledge that people have trouble obtaining citizenship, obtaining green card due to unfair circumstances. Okay, you also acknowledge that people come here because, oh, I want to achieve the American dream. I want to do X and Y. I want to escape from the dangerous situation in my country, right? You acknowledge both of these. So is it really so hard to acknowledge that undocumented immigrants might come into this country but still want citizenship but not be able to get it, but at the same time they're still patriotic about it? I mean, just look at other people from other countries that talk about us, right? They always talk about us in some kind of reverence, like we're holy land, like we're Jerusalem. We're the Jerusalem of the world. Like we are the holy lands. There are Canadians probably and British people that are more patriotic to America than some American citizens. If you're gonna say things like this, I'm going to have to ask for a source, because if you're also going by word of mouth, then I'm going to be going by word of mouth. So there you go, okay?
I would desperately wish that someone in the position I'm in now would stand for me. So yeah, I think about that. Yet, loath as I am to admit it, I am subject to the same human conditions as with everyone else that compels me to put the more acute principles that envelope my existence above grand, lofty, philosophical prose about cosmic justice. America cannot be the dumping ground for the world's problems. More than that, I don't want it to be. That is a position I take as an expression of loyalty to a country that has given me a lot of opportunities.
Okay, so like throughout this entire video, he has talked about loyalty and law, but I, for one, cannot stand anymore these Trump supporters and conservatives talking about loyalty and law. They're not allowed to talk about it anymore. After the fake electors plan and after January 6th, I don't want to hear about it. You cannot say that Trump attempted something other than a coup, okay? And also, dumping ground for the world's problems? Little bro. At some point, your Asian immigrant ancestors came over to be part of this dumping ground for their problems. You used mirror force on yourself. You literally just used mirror force on yourself. You are horrible. You're just... This entire video is trash, okay? It is racism. It is lies. It is inaccurate facts. In fact, I would even say this is disinformation presented under the thin veneer of a buttoned up shirt and calm speeches and fancy wordings and metaphors and wildly turn of phrases and philosophies. This guy speaks so much, but he says so little because he doesn't represent the facts correctly. Okay? Basically, what I'm saying is, fuck this guy!